Hello guys, this is my Mossberg 4x4. This has been my go-to deer rifle for many years. It is chambered in 25-06 and it has harvested a ton of whitetail over the years. When I first purchased this rifle, it was about 15 years ago, and at the time I was trying to get really high velocities. I was shooting a buddy's 22-250 and I was studying ballistic charts, and I settled in on a 25-06 because it's going 3,200 feet per second. So I also wanted to shoot Barnes bullets, and at the time the only way of shooting Barnes bullets was to reload, and that's the reason I got into reloading, was because of Barnes bullets. And when I first started shooting the Barnes bullets, they did not have the tipped version. But now, of course, you can go to the store and buy it already made. But anyways, I had read the manual and it said to seat your bullets 50 thousandths off the lands. So I got one of these OAL gauges, overall length gauges, and I measured the distance to my lands, and I added 50 thousandths, and that's what I seated my bullets to. And then I loaded with 4831, Hodgdon's 4831, 55 grains, Winchester brass, and Winchester large rifle primers, and that has been my go-to load for 15 or more years. But it is never grouped like I want. I've never been happy with the groups. They're always inch and a half, something like that. No sub-OMA stuff. Well, when I moved to the 6.5 and I'm getting all these half-inch, third of an inch groups, and I started thinking about it, and I'm shooting these Barnes LRXs, and I'm getting these awesome groups, but my bullets are seated at 120 thousandths from the lands. Well, monolithic bullets want to jump. They're a harder copper bullet. They're not soft like lead, and they need to slam into the lands to engage them good. So anyways, we're going to revisit this 25-06. I'm going to go remeasure the distance to my lands in case there's any throat erosion, and we're going to move these bullets from 50 thousandths out to 100, 120, and we're going to go shoot it and see if it tightens the groups up at all. And I'll be tickled if that's what it takes to get real accurate loads out of this rifle. I've come to the conclusion that the rifle just can't shoot sub-OMA, but maybe it's my reloading. So after I load that, we are going to load up some more 6.5 Creedmoor, but I am out of 4350, and I've about given up on Reloader 16. I just can't get it to group good. So without any 4350, I can't work the load up anymore. I came across this Superformance the other day. Hornady Superformance, made by Hodgdon's. Well, anyways, when I first started getting into 6.5 Creedmoor, I'd seen this powder, Superformance, but I had never seen it anywhere in the shelves or paid attention to it, but I saw it in the reloading manual. Superformance. And note the speeds of 2865. That's over 130 feet per second more than what I'm getting with 4350. So I thought I'd give it a try. Over here in the Hornady manual, Superformance, note where the speeds are at. The Sierra manual. I guess it's not in the Sierra. Oh, there it is. In the Sierra manual, there it is. Look where the speeds are at, 2,800 feet per second. So I thought I'd give it a try and see what we come up with that Superformance. So that's what we're going to do tonight, and then after we load those, work up those 2 loads there and take them out, we're going to throw some Bergers in the AR, some 70 grain Berger Hybrid bullets. The best way to use the overall length gauge from Hornady is to put a small dowel pin down the bore and to work it back and forth, and you will feel it hitting the lands on and off, and that's how you get it. You don't just put it in there, drive it in, and stop. You want to work the bullet back and forth, and you feel it engage the lands and come off, and when you barely feel it touch it, that's when you tighten this knob down right there, and then that's the setting you want to record with your caliber. I'm a big fan of Barnes bullets, of their triple shock bullet, and now their LRX bullets. That's all I shoot. I've been shooting them for 15 years, ever since they came out with the long range bullet. One of the reasons I like them so much is their customer support. These are bullets that I have shot into a 55-gallon drum of water, and aren't those pretty? I mean, look at that perfect pedaling, just like what the videos show. I mean, they perform just like the videos. This is my 25-06 in water. This is what I typically shoot in 25-06, 100 grain tip triple shock. The only bullet that I have recovered in a deer out of the 30 to 40 deer that I've shot was this bullet right here. And this took a deer at 225 yards in the head. It only presented a headshot. It wouldn't come up out of the woods, up over the rise of the hill. So I shot him between the eyes and hit him right to the left of the right eye. I'll never do it again. It split my rack. But anyways, the bullet went through the frontal bone and out the occipital bone, and it was hung up. A little piece of the pedal caught on the back side, and I thought it was a tick at first, and this is the only bullet that I've recovered. And when you weigh this bullet, it weighs like 99.5 grains, and the loss of weight is from the loss of the ballistic tip, the whatever they call it, ballistic tip's Nosler name, but so they perform just as advertised. A pure copper bullet, 100% copper. They're a monolithic bullet. There is no mushrooming. There's no loss. They don't fragment. The petals stay together. And one of the reasons I like the tip bullet is they expand on impact. You can tell a difference between a hollow point and a tipped on the targets that change color when you hit them. Anyways. And their customer support is phenomenal. And I'm revisiting this load in 25-06 because I think that I can get it to shoot better. And I was searching through my old material, and this is from an old version of their manual. And as you can see, the 100 grain, this is before they had the triple shock. They were just the X bullets. But they list H4831 had 55 grains max, 3,200 feet per second. And that is what I'm shooting, is 4831. But the newer version, the newest manual, if you email Barnes, they'll send you pages out of their manual. And for 100 grain, they don't list the 4831. They do for 90 and they do for 115. But I tried this Mag Pro, and it was a compressed load, but I was getting pressure signs at like 58, 59 before I got to the max, so I quit. It sort of scared me. It was getting pressure signs that early, and it was a ball or a flake type powder, and I didn't like that. I like extruded powders a whole lot better. So for the ELD, I hate to go buy a $40 book to load a $20 box of bullets. So when I was in Bass Pro, I took a picture with my phone out of their manual. if you call Hornady, they tell you, they won't give you their reloading information. They say our reloading information can be found in our such and such edition of the reloading manual. But what I was after was this Superformance, because that's what I'm fixing to experiment with and trying to get 2,800 feet per second out of 6.5 Creedmoor. If you don't use load cards, you need to, because once you get a good load, you need to be able to have the recipe to be able to replicate it. And I've sort of designed these cards. That way you don't have to keep the targets, just write it on there. And this is the load I'm thinking about going with most in the LRX. So let's get to loading. Okay, here's my calculations I'm going to be using. Since the sweet spot in most rifles is 30 to 40 thousandths of an inch, my measured distance to the lands with the tipped 100 grain triple shock, Barnes triple shock, is 3.223 inches. So what I've been shooting is 50 thousandths off the lands for 3.173. And I'm trying to decide how to go up and work these groups up for accuracy. So I'm going to take the 50 thousandths that I've been shooting and I'm going to add 40 thousandths to that, which is going to give me 90 thousandths. So I am going to seat to a case overall length of 3.133 inches and for 5 rounds, and then the next 5 rounds I'm going to seat to 130 off the lands, and that's going to be a case overall length of 3.093 inches. So my Ruger American in the LRXs is really liking 140 grain jump. So these are the two I'm going to work up. Do 5. If I have enough powder left, I'm about out of powder, I might work up somewhere in between here, like 110. So let's get busy, get the scales out. All right, I filled the hopper and my electronic Hornady scales with 4831 shortcut. We're going to load 10 rounds. First rounds are going to be to 90 thousandths. The second one's going to be 130 thousandths off the lands. Looking for that sweet spot where this rifle can shoot better. But when I load this, I am going to confirm it on my 502 scale, because I think that's why I'm getting some really good SDs, and all of a sudden you'll get a really wild one. When I watch this scale, you'll see that it'll be like this is plus or minus a grain, or a plus or minus 0.1 grain, and I think that's where I'm getting some of my inconsistencies. So we're going to see if we can find it on this scale and make sure that it is exactly 55 grains. We're going to be shooting 55 grains of 4831. It's been my pet load in these 25-06s for 15 years. Okay, it just metered or charged 55 grains of 4831. Now that's what this electronic scale says. Let's see what my beam scale says. Right on the money. Okay, good. Okay. See how it's teetering between 54.9 and 55? I don't know, guys. Thought I heard 2 grains drop, and it looks like it's just a tad over. See that? And I think that's where I'm getting my inconsistencies. I'm going to go ahead and drop it. I think it's got an extra kernel in there. See, that one's right on the money. So I don't know if that small amount's going to make a difference or not on the seating depth difference. But how are you going to get really accurate SDs if you're off a little bit? This dispense charge said 52.2, but then dropped down to 55.0. So all right. See that? That's not on the money. It's almost an overcharge. And when you're wanting accuracy, you can't be. So I'm getting to where I don't really trust this thing. I'm going to dump this load. I don't trust that. This thing does plus or minus 0.1 grain, and we were over 0.1 grain. So if I've got to sit here and check every single charge, I might as well not even use this electronic powder dispenser. Now see, that one's right on the money. Right on the money. So it appears that about every 5th charge, it's a couple grains over. See guys, here's another one. That is not 55 grains. That was every 2nd grain is off. Or 2nd drop. That one's on the money. But I typically use a one of those Lee powder spoons, and then I trickle the powder in, and I don't think this electronic is really that much faster, to be honest with you. Because I get them powder spoons, get it just about right, and then dump it in, then just trickle until we get right on the line, and I'm real accurate that way. This thing is not impressing me, that between every 3rd and 5th powder drop, see, 55 now, 55.9 or 54.9. I bet you this one's going to be off. See, I'm not happy with that. See, look at that. That's the third one in a row that is off. It's 2 in a row that I'm dumping back in, and at this rate, I might as well manually do it. Alright, here's what the scale said, 55.5. It's the fourth one in a row that I'm dumping back in because it's that far off. You'll never get SDs below 10 when you're not having a consistent powder drop. So far, I am not impressed. Okay, guys, I'm not impressed. I'm glad I didn't pay no $300 for this. It's a buddy that let me borrow it. I'm now on the 10th powder drop, and not a one of them